Hello everyone. Today I wanted to talk about an article I saw online. It came up on a general news feed that I was looking at, and it was a very interesting article because a man had moved from an inner city to a rural area. And what he decided was that rural area was not for him. Even though he had moved there for peace, quiet, and calm, he even relocated himself to a new job. He found out at the end of the short term he was there that it was not for him. He no longer wanted peace, quiet, and calm. I'm from a very small town. Where I'm from, back in the day when I was growing up, I'm talking 70s here, everybody knew everybody. My grandfather, in addition to being a family man, a homesteader, in what we think of homesteading today, he had a family farm. He was also the town sheriff. So everybody knew him. And I couldn't go anywhere without somebody knowing me. I didn't ask for that. It's just how it was. You could say, well, your life must have been chaos all the time. It wasn't really like that, though, because we didn't have the internet, we didn't have social media, we didn't have all that. So going around town talking to people was a thing. It wasn't considered chaotic, it was considered normal. But after experiencing small town life for himself, he moved back to chaos. And the driving factor, this is what cracked me up about the article, the driving factor was that he couldn't get a burger at midnight. He said he missed the opportunities to go out in the middle of the night and get a burger with friends and socialize with friends. And I honestly understand how that feels. Small town living is not like inner city living. I've lived in cities. I like going out at midnight. I used to go to this bakery. It was very fun. They had clocks from around the world all over their walls. They made fresh pastries daily, and they made coffee from around the world. It was a small mom and pop. I don't even know if it still exists today. There was nothing better than midweek, midnight run to get a coffee and a slice of chocolate cake. I ate cake back then. And that was so much fun. It was relaxing. We don't have anything like that where I come from. Aside from some chain coffee shops, there are a few bakeries, but they're nothing like that. And the other thing is our sidewalks roll up around 6 o'clock every day. There are a few stores open till 8, maybe 9, 10's pushing it. Even the grocery stores around here, they lock one door, which personally I think is ridiculous, because what if there's a fire? So they do, though. There's only one way in and out. With all these people coming in there to grocery shop, one way in and out. To me, that doesn't make any sense. That's what they do around here. I have 2 grocery stores that are open after 8. One is open till 9, one is open till 10, and that's it. The Walmart we have is a small Walmart. They don't even have produce. The other thing about our grocery stores is they have little sections of different types of foods. They have like a pre-made food section, they have a deli, they have a seafood department, things like that. But those also close up early. So if you're not there by 7 o'clock, you're not getting a pound of ham. If you're not there by 7 o'clock, you're not getting some fresh cod, because they do not stay open. They don't even stay open as long as the store stays open. So I get why somebody would move here thinking they're going to have peace, quiet, calm, and move back to go out at midnight and have a burger. It's for the experience of it. When I was growing up, we didn't lock our doors until, I want to say, maybe mid-80s, maybe late 80s. Nobody here locked their doors. My grandparents actually were robbed. Somebody got in the house when they weren't home and flipped over the dresser drawers like you see in the movies. They took my grandfather's pocket watch that belonged to his father, and some other things like pearls that belonged to my grandmother. So after that, people started getting cautious and locking doors. But even though there's a lot of charm in a small town, people move away and other people move in. So it changes over time. The people that move here bring their own cultures. In other words, this was a one-horse town, you could say. But people that moved in here brought breweries. We didn't have anything like that. They brought different type of cuisines. We didn't have anything like that. Around here, we had some Italian bakeries. We had Italian places to eat. We had pizza places. We had fast food restaurants. But now we're seeing an influx of specialized gourmet and other cultural foods coming in, which I think is fantastic. When I was growing up, I didn't have those experiences. So I think this is wonderful. I wouldn't say small town living is necessarily boring. It is what you make of it. If you like peace, quiet, watching some TV, taking care of your own property, that's a good thing. It's funny because even though it is a small town, we really have nothing to do. There are a few beaches here and one has a hiking trail, so that's cool. But as far as kids go, it's very expensive. We have a beach with, a boardwalk. They have carnival type rides, but it's only open a couple months out of the year and it's super expensive. I don't even know how people can afford to go to it. They have a water slide, but I haven't even seen it in operation for years. We do have other activities a little further away that aren't a bad drive to. The problem is the expense. So if you have a couple $100, yeah, but who can afford that every day, to just take your child out to like a simple arcade or get a burger or a fancy milkshake or something? It's crazy prices. When I was growing up, I had relatives with pools, so I could go swimming. We also rode bikes, but we never had like a community center. We had to make our own fun. We had to play ball in the streets. We have like one community center, but it is so booked all the time. It's hard to get in and it's kind of far away. So if you live here with children, they can't even walk or bike to it. It's way too far. When they put in a new addition to a senior center here, which is absolutely lovely and beautiful, they wanted to put a pool in, which I thought was great. That's going to mean taxes go up. But I thought, well, if everybody can use the pool, and it was going to be like an Olympic-sized swimming pool. But they came back and said, no, it would only be for senior citizen members. So the town people voted against it because they said, well, if not everybody is included in it, we're not willing to pay additional taxes because the senior center renovation itself was $1 million. So it wasn't people being selfish. It was just that the taxes were already going to go up. Plus they put in a new park with a jogging track, really nice playground equipment. That was also millions of dollars. And then all the other parks that we have around here are just empty now. So people have a limit. You can't just keep going and expect everybody to bear the burden in their taxes. They also took down all the old schools. The schools I went to, they're gone. Now there are big, giant, high-rise schools. I can't imagine being a kid and going to a giant high-rise school in a rural area. There's plenty of kids that go there. But the thing is, if you're from a rural area, you're not used to high-rises. You're not used to that many people in one area. So it's different. Like in the inner cities, yeah, they have high-rises, they have a bigger school and all that. But I'm talking about kids that are raised in areas where there's farmland and country and large yards. So for these kids to have to go to these giant high-rise schools, it is probably shocking. My kids were already graduated by the time these new schools were built, so they didn't have to go to these giant high-rises. To put it in perspective, The schools I went to and the schools that were here still until they built these giant high rises were 1-story schools. You didn't even have to go upstairs for the most part until you got to high school. So these 1-story schools, you just walked down the hallway. You didn't have to navigate 4 to 5 levels of school. Now imagine being 6 years old. Imagine being 13 years old. It's quite a culture shock from little rural town living to going to a high-rise school system. But it would be better if we did have more to do. If we did have more to do, if we had more places that opened later. It is definitely a change of pace for people that come from a chaotic area or a city that have plenty to do, shopping, grocery stores that are open later, street vendors. We don't have street vendors here. Once in a while, you might see a hot dog cart, but it's usually limited to a lunchtime at a busy office building. It would be cool to see more things come to our area, such as different food trucks and vendors that could come around in the warmer months. That would be really cool. Another thing that would be really cool are just more variety of restaurants. Like I said, the breweries are coming in, and that's awesome. When I was young, I liked that kind of style. You know, you go sit in a brewery and have, what do they call it, handcrafted beer. That was fun to me. I don't drink beer today, but I can see why that would be so much fun. And not only that, but it brings people in the area, it brings tourists in the area. You know, the businesses only get so much business from the in-town people. And we do have an uptick in tourists during the summer, but they can't support every business here. When Walmart came in, a lot of mom and pops closed. When I was growing up, every strip mall was full of small boutiques, shoe stores, dress shops, tons of dress shops, tons of children's shops. We had shoe stores and dress boutiques and little suits, you know, in their own stores here. We had so many different stores. And when Walmart came in, most of them, if they weren't already closed up, they were closing up. There was this one strip mall, though, in town, and it was right at the front of the road. There was a bank. There's an office building at the end. It's a 1-story strip mall. And then there's a bunch of little things, like little takeout places or a nail salon or a package store, you know, those types of things. Yesterday, in all my years here, I rode by that strip mall. Half of it is empty now. The businesses have shuttered. That's the first time I've ever seen it. That strip mall has survived. Every other strip mall around has lost tenants. Landlords are struggling to get people into their strip malls here. But this one strip mall, because of the location right on the road, location is everything, you know, they never lost tenants. They were full all this time. And now they've lost half their tenants. In addition, the stores that we do have around, like little department stores that are left when they're bigger chains, you know, what's happening is they're leaving the spaces they have leased for 30 years and they're downsizing to smaller spaces. It's not completely shocking to me, but I'm saying because the spaces they were in were for big box stores. So now you have thousands of square feet that are just empty in these strip malls because these big box stores are opting for less space. And one of the reasons for that is because they don't want to have to deal with every aspect of the business, such as the trucking and having more staff to deal with all the loading, unloading, different reasons like that. So they're downsizing to smaller areas and targeting what they actually want to put in their store instead of just everything. Like Kohl's, for example, Kohl's is pretty much an everything box store. You got home goods, you got the baby department, you got sleepwear, you got men's, you got ladies, you got athletic wear, shoes, jewelry, just a bunch of different departments. But some of the other ones have elected not to do that now. So they're going into smaller spaces so that they could focus on their online venues and not bring in everything into the physical storefront. One of the things that I think is really disappointing here is we don't have a mall at all anymore. And our strip malls aren't really like, shopping plazas anymore. They're not shopping plazas. They're a mixture of all kinds of things. Food, nails, hair. But back in the day, they were shopping plazas. And I still see that they exist. You can still go to shopping plazas in areas and just shop. But around here, we don't have that anymore. Everything has gone to different types of businesses. What we do have are vape shops, smoke shops, car washes. We have a lot of new standalone car washes. And then we have a lot more gyms. Every time I turn around, there's a nail salon and a hair salon and a barber shop. I don't even know how these places stay busy because they're all full. It's hard to get an appointment anywhere, but at the same time, they're everywhere. There's no shortage of them. So it's funny how times have changed. I just wish our town would incorporate more things from inner city living. Even though we are rural, we like it quiet, we like it calm. It wouldn't hurt to have something like a community center. It wouldn't hurt to have different types of cuisine. It wouldn't hurt to have more things for people to do. But they don't focus on that here. Do you know, fun fact, we don't even have a movie theater. So it would be great if we could have more stuff. So I get totally why somebody would find their way here for the peace and quiet, but move back for the chaos.